Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, another video. Today we'll be reviewing American Ninja Warrior Season 17 Episode 1, which I was not sure how I was going to feel about. I was kind of mixed opinions, because I was excited to watch it again, but I was also like not sure how it would be. But in the end, I'm trying not to be typical here, because I know I'm always kind of like just generally like, oh, it was good. But this premiere was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it overall. The obstacles were really good overall, with one exception. The obstacles were really good. The competitors were good. The stories, I really liked how they did the stories this season. So we're getting into much more detail on this, but overall I'm very happy with the premiere. So that's a TLDR, but please don't please do read or do watch to the end, or at least as far as you want, because we have some more info here and some more opinions. I'm gonna give a summary of the episode here, but hopefully not just a summary, but also explaining what happened, because otherwise why are you watching? Because that's what I did in the past. I just did a summary without really explaining anything, but I was inexperienced then. Now I know what I'm doing. Okay. She'll open that in advance. But okay, so we're going over the course first of all, which overall, like I said, is pretty good. The first obstacle is the quad steps, although it's really the home run. Because to me, I'm not being a stickler for home run, but because I've been watching for a long time, to me the quad steps is the bigger steps, and the home run's kind of separate because it's the smaller, kind of easier to grab ones. But you know, I'm kind of being a stickler there, and I guess it makes more sense with the classic obstacle theme to rename it to the quad steps like they used to be. But it's fine. I like it. I'm glad to be back to a simple starting obstacle. Not that I minded the pole vault or anything like that, but I'm happy with this one. I like it. So it's a good start, simple. That was the obstacle that was there when I started watching season 4, so I'm good for it. And speaking of watching season 4, the second obstacle is a log grip, which is the other also in season 4. This is the one that I have a problem with. This is the only obstacle in the course that I really have like a historical complaint about, because this is not the log grip I remember from 2012. This is, first of all, it's a stupid European version that's like red and gray, and instead it's like a log. I mean, I know most obstacles are kind of red and that type of color, but the log grip used to be just brown, like an actual wooden log. Now it's like a fake looking plasticky thing. And instead of having the indents like season 4 and the earlier ones had, it has the newer version with the handles, which I don't like as much. I think that the indents make it more unique and make it more what was classic about it. They probably don't even they might not have even thought of this when they were making it, because it's probably just like what they had, but I wish they did that one. But the biggest problem with this obstacle is the fact that the dismount is not like, it's too much of like an effort to dismount, which is okay on some obstacles, but for a log grip that's not really the intended point, at least in my mind. But in the original Sasuke version, in all the previous A&W versions, it's not. I think the European version is kind of more like that as well. So I don't know if this is the exact blueprint that they use on like Ninja Warrior UK and everything, but it's more like that. And the dismount is just too much of a factor. Don't get me wrong, some people fall on the platform before, but these people have to like launch themselves, because the track ends like here and the platform's like here, so you have to like launch forward with momentum. That's not how the obstacle works, in my opinion. I mean, it is how it works, but it's not how it's supposed to work. So yeah, I'm not sure on the log grip. I didn't really like it that much, but whatever. Block run is the third obstacle. I wouldn't call it like a classic obstacle, because it was seasons 8 to 11 originally, but it is an older obstacle, and I thought it was overused back then, but now it's been long enough that I'm happy to see it back, so I'm glad with that for number 3. It started out as a very easy obstacle in season 8, but these days they upgraded it to make it spin more and to make the spacing more, I believe. So it's a lot harder now, as you'll see in a few minutes. So I like the block run. The spin cycle is another one that I like. It's on a lot of playgrounds, like something similar to that, but I think the spacing is a lot bigger, which makes it harder. So you have to lachey across it. So you have these 3 spinning discs. They're each angled on a different axis, and you have to use momentum to swing from one to the next, lacheying between each one. And because they're tilted to the side, you kind of go off center when you lachey, so you have to time it right, or else you're gonna go flying the wrong way. So you have to swing to the right direction to grab the next one and the next one, and then dismount, which is also not a given, because the platform, if you swing the wrong way, you'll go to the side of the platform. So you have to stay centered on these not diagonal, but these slant rings. It's pretty tough, and people can get caught up on that, but not too many people got caught up this time. I think in the past there's been more of that. People have probably gotten used to this obstacle, even though it hasn't been on for a while. So I'm guessing that that's why there was less trouble with it. But you still saw a lot of people trying to get their swing and correct it. So I think this obstacle killed the grip strength for a lot of people. So it definitely served its purpose. The 5th obstacle is a battering ram, which again, I feel like isn't like a classic obstacle. It debuted in season 9, and then season 10, it was in Vegas in season 11 in a slightly different format. So it's not like a classic obstacle, but it's another one that's old enough that it works. It's basically 3 cylinders, each of which are on a different rail. So you have to wrap around the cylinder with your arms. They're thick, especially the second one is very thick, but they're all kind of thick, so you have to like wrap around it, because it's like a cylinder that freely spins. So you gotta get the cylinder across the whole rail to the end, then lachey to the next one, do the same thing for that one and do the same thing for the third one. So it's basically grip strength of holding on and also being able to move it forward, and then to be able to lâcher from the log to log, which is the main thing that gets people out, is a lâcher, because your grip is dying. You have to make a transition, and they're offset, so like one will be slightly to the left or right of the previous one, so you have to kind of do a diagonal lâcher, and the bar that holds up the thing is also kind of in the way. So the lâchers are pretty tough, and a lot of people fall on those, so this is a tough fifth obstacle. And then the final obstacle is surprise, the warped wall, the most classic obstacle you could have, so I'm not surprised that it's there at all. The mega wall is also there, so if they finish under a minute, then if they get the warp wall in under a minute, then they get to try the mega wall after hitting the buzzer. So they come back down the warp wall and try the mega wall. I'm not surprised that the mega wall is still there. I wouldn't mind if they got rid of it just to kind of simplify things, because they have so many twists going on. But I'm not surprised they kept it, because once you introduce that, it's kind of hard to get rid of, I feel like, without seeming like a downgrade. So I get why they kept it. But yeah, the course I'm overall really happy with. The log grip kind of annoys me. It's not a bad obstacle in its own right, but it's not how it should be in my opinion, which bothers me. But overall, the course is pretty good. There's nothing egregious at all. Most of the obstacles are really good, and I like the simplicity of it and kind of the speed of it for a qualifying course. So I'm really happy with the course overall. I like that. Now we get to the runs, which I wrote down here. So the first competitor was Jonathan Morin, who I remember. He might have been the first episode I ever watched, actually, because I started watching in season 4. He was one of the walk-ons. He's a pastor, and he walked on the course. He didn't really plan on running it, but he was there, and he's like, why not? So he ended up running the course and doing pretty well. And his youth group or kids were there from his school, church, not school. So they were watching that. So that was a cool story. I remember that I remember it vividly because it was my first episode, or my first couple of episodes. So it's kind of funny to see that go full circle 13 years later somehow. It's crazy. And he ran well. Well, he started out well, but he failed a log grip near the end. He's lost his grip. I believe he's 40 now, so he was 27 when he started. Now he's 40, so it's a bit of a difference, but he did well. You know, and it was the exact same 2 obstacles he did in the first time, because the quadriceps and log grip were also in season 4, so that's funny. Different versions of the same obstacles. Then we have Leo Herring, who had dyslexia. And I liked his shirt. It said dyslexic Nijna, and it was like the letters were in the wrong order on purpose as like a joke. I like that because it brings attention to to what he has, and also kind of makes it a little bit fun. So I like that idea. That was cute, and he did well. But unfortunately, he failed on the battering ram. Yeah, the shade to the second cylinder, the widest, the biggest in circumference cylinder was tough, which got a lot of people, and he failed that one. I'm turning these lights on because I can't read my notes. So this should go better now, hopefully. But yeah, that was a good run. I like the story. It talked about someone's like disability, which I'm not always like. I think sometimes it gets like random, but this fit with Ninja because it showed how he overcame it, and it was very quick and kind of not too like serious. It had like a lighthearted element, so I like that. Then we have some fast forwards with a guy that climbed trees. He climbed palm trees to grab coconuts, which is something I like to do. Well, minus coconuts, I just climbed the palm tree. So that was cool. He's much more efficient than I am at climbing it. And then there was a lady who almost made it to the log grip, but she fell backwards. Again, that dismount was way too hard for what it's supposed to be, but that was kind of an interesting fall. And then this guy who told dad jokes, he had a really painful fall on the block run. He like straddled the blocks, which does not sound fun. But yeah, he fell there. So all 3 cuts failed pretty early. The tree climbing guy failed the log grip, I think, ironically. So all 3 of those failed pretty early, unsurprisingly, because it's the early fast forwards, so not surprising. Then we had 2 friends named Maddie and Milo. They were 16 or 17, I believe, and they've been training since they were 7. I believe. I have too many numbers to keep track of, but I believe they were 7. So that's crazy that they've been training for the majority of their life for this. That's cool. And they do a lot of stuff together. Like they show them doing the salmon ladder together and stuff. And what else? I like the profile because it was about their friendship, but it also tied into Ninja by showing them how the Ninja is the aspect that says like, oh, we're friends, like it used to be with a lot of these stories. So I like how it kept Ninja as a focus, but also kind of giving you an idea of what they're doing. So that was good. And unfortunately, Milo fell on log grip, so that was not a great run, but decent. And again, the log grip is not very good quality in my opinion, so maybe it will not doesn't mean much. I don't know. I don't like this log grip. I don't like how they built it at all. Then we had Tiana Weberly. They talked about how she broke her collarbone. She's been gone for a couple of years, but she's back. She had a close call on the block run. I thought she got fouled there, but she made it. she had that kind of like an awkward step, but she made it through. Then she kind of got stuck on the spin cycle. Like I said, her momentum got kind of off center, but she was able to clear it. And then unfortunately she failed on the battering ram. You can see that the second like log when she's trying to shake, the third one was sliding backwards, kind of like the pipe slider when trying to dismount and it's going backwards. So I had a feeling she was gonna fail there because she wasn't really getting like to the end of the track because it kept going back. So I had a feeling I was right that she failed there. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, a lot of people failed there, as I said. Then we also then they showed as a cut, they showed Maddie of Maddie and Milo that they talked about earlier. And she also failed the log grip, which I figured if they're gonna do a fast forward of one of them, that they showed that they put either the equal or worse run in the fast forward and showed a better one. So I wasn't surprised because, you know, they would, if one of them did better, they would have shown that one. But yeah, so they both failed log grip. Yeah. Then they started doing this countdown thing, which basically shows that their best and craziest wipeouts that they've had across the 17 years. Which was kind of a cool idea. I like the idea of doing a countdown. This season kind of has a theme of like old competitors, old obstacles, kind of like a celebration of the past and the past, present, and future, as they said, which is kind of cheesy, but I guess it kind of is. So I like that. And basically the countdown, they showed all the best wipeouts. Well, not all the best wipeouts. They showed the top 5. So I started out with the 5th best, which was James Bartholomew. And it was basically, he did the propeller bar from Vegas, the second obstacle in Vegas, and he made it to the rope, and then he hits back on the ramp, which looked painful. And I don't know if it was a sound effect, but it sounded very painful. It might have been a sound effect, but it was very, it sounded very rough. That was a good fall. So I'm glad he's okay, but that was a good fall. And that's number 5 on their countdown. Then we have Bray Weinecker. He was a wakeboarder. I believe he's 15. So he might be the youngest person in this episode actually, but he was a wakeboarder. I like that part of the story. Then they did something that I don't really like, where they introduce another thing that's more serious, like after the first part of the story. It's like you have one good thing, and then it's like, oh, and then this person has this issue. But in this case, it wasn't too bad. It was the fact that he got his eye, like he was doing an obstacle, and he like hurt his eye, so he's blind in one eye now. Which, I mean, that is bad, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like at least someone dying, because sometimes they do that, which I don't like. But it was, yeah, he went blind in one eye from a bungee hitting it, I believe, which is kind of scary that can happen. But it didn't seem to stop him too much on the course. He did really well, and he was able to clear it. Yeah. He was able to clear it in 55 seconds. Sorry, I was trying to get the time with my messy handwriting on here. And also in the his profile piece, I saw the Obstacle Ninja Academy, the gym I used to go to. So that was a cool cameo for the gym. I was like, oh, I know that gym. So that was cool. I wrote a lot here. What the heck did I do? Okay, no, never mind. I was just okay. Then they did some fast forwards with this cheese rolling guy who unfortunately I didn't put his name, but he basically does these things where he races to grab a wheel of cheese rolling down a hill, which I've seen before. It sounds random, but it's a sport in some European country, I believe. But he failed the spin cycle. Then they had this guy who took a selfie on the starting line, which I feel like we've seen like 10 times before, but it's a decent hook, I guess. And he unfortunately made it to the end of the battering ram, like the dismount, and then he just missed the platform by like this much. He fell like this to the platform, so he was like very close. And if he made it through that, he probably would have cleared the course, so that's unfortunate. But I believe he moved on. Okay. Then we have Jonathan Bonge. Oh yeah, I remember him. He was a coach, and he somehow made it to stage 3 in his first season, which is very impressive. But what's also kind of equally surprising, not very impressive, is unfortunately he tried to skip the 3rd step on the first obstacle, and he failed it. He tried to skip from the 2nd to the 4th step, which are both on the same side, which I don't know why he tried to do that, because it doesn't really save much time, and it's not worth it. And unfortunately, he failed there, so the season's over. He went from stage 3 to the first obstacle, which is unfortunate. Hopefully he can get back and do better next season, and not skip any more steps, because that's not worth it. Then we have, oh, my handwriting got worse. Oh, then they had the 4th fall, which was not Natalia. I can't read my writing because it's on the sticky part of the note. Oh, she's the one that face planted on the steps. I don't know her last name, but she face planted on the 4th step of the quintuple steps. I remember that one. That looks very painful. She went like right into the side of it. So that is the 4th fall. That's a good one. Then we had Cecilia Bogle, who was a trapeze artist. And unfortunately, she couldn't grab the 2nd cylinder of the battering ram, which is a very common theme this episode. Then they had 3 more cuts with 2 log grip fails, which were not written down on the paper because I didn't have enough space. Then they had a near fail on the log grip, which again, this dismount is way too tough or way too like it takes too much effort to dismount the second obstacle for what it is. But Nigel Henry cleared it, but he almost didn't make it, but he cleared the log grip. Then he failed block run, so not much better, unfortunately. Then they showed the third place fall relatively quickly, which was Scott Wilson's Scorpion on the spinning bridge. I remember that one. I saw a similar one in Cincinnati in person when I was there, but this one looked very painful. It's kind of like a wipeout, like the TV show style fall where they kick the back of their head with their legs. It looks very painful, but it's a good fall. Then we had Owen Dyer, who they talked about how he had like 4 seasons previously, I believe. I remember seeing him in like season 13, I think. But then he said that they explained how he like was training, then he graduated high school and he got like depressed, which I think is a relatively I think that happens because people are done with school and they don't really know what to do next. So that's unfortunate, but I think that happens. I'm glad that he got back into Ninja and his brother basically trained with his brother to get back into it. That's a really good story. I like that one. Again, it's a story that it's kind of has a like a another topic, but it ties into Ninja and how it helps. So I like that idea. And yeah, I'm glad he's doing better now. Stuff like training and just anything that kind of keeps you busy is good for feeling bad, I believe. Not in every case, but I think it definitely helps. So I'm glad he got back into Ninja. And he had a close call on the log grip. I was very happy he didn't fall because I was worried he was going to fail a second obstacle, which would be a rough return. But he made it through that. He jumped over the last 2 blocks of block run, which was cool. He was not taking any chances on those blocks, and I don't blame him because we saw later on who failed on this, and it was surprising. Then he cleared in 125, so not the fastest clear, but a very good time. And he made it through, and then his brother went up the warped wall to join him, which was cool. And also impressive because he was 14, he made up a 14-foot warped wall, so that's not bad. They must have had some kind of agreement in advance that he could do that, because I figure, I know they don't want you on the course unless you're like approved to do it, so maybe they staged that. Whatever, it doesn't matter, but he cleared it either way. That was a cool moment, and that was nice. And a very good story for the run. I'm glad he cleared that. Then we have Joseph Rance. Oh, these are fast forwards. That's why I don't know who they are. Joseph Rance, Austin Barron, and William the Sparring Brown, who I do remember because I've seen him compete in the past. They all cleared the course, which is weird because at this point we had 3 out of 5 clears were people that were skipped over because these 3 all cleared. So that was kind of a weird proportion. But that happens a lot because they can't show all the clears because time constraints. Then we had Eddie Smith, who was the pec flexing guy who does like the left, right, double, which they did a funny profile piece that he can't do that anymore. Like he's out of practice with the pec flexing, which was funny. And then he was able to get it at the end. I like that one. That was fun. Again, it was like a lighthearted profile piece. I remember in the past, I've actually tried to do the pec flexing, but I don't really have much to work with. And I was unable to do it. And I was very frustrated at the time because I got frustrated by stuff like that back then. I still can't do it, but I'm not gonna think about it. I'm not gonna get frustrated again. One day I'll be able to do it, maybe. But yeah, that was a funny story. I like that. Unfortunately, he had a very hard fall coming down for a log grip because he's big, like muscular. So he had a hard fall coming down for a log grip, but he landed on the platform. And then unfortunately, he failed on block run. So yeah, he was out at that point. That's a shame. Then we had Gary Wyland, who I remember from season 15. I watched season 15 a little bit, like the first few episodes. I did not review it in any capacity, but this was a very cool moment where Gary Wyland cleared the log runner, because he's the guy who he has a prosthetic leg. I believe his left leg is a prosthetic. He got stuck like hands on one log and legs on another, and he was stuck on the 4th and 5th log and trying to get off. I remember this was like a crazy run. He tried to get off to the platform, and it took a while, but he eventually was able to launch himself to the platform, which I don't know how he did that. That's very crazy. No matter what, if you have a prosthetic or not, it's a very tough move to pull off, and the fact that he did it with a prosthetic is crazy. So yeah, that was a cool moment. So they showed that, and they showed how that was such a popular moment. And then he ran again and again. Well, first of all, he did a marathon. They talked about that. He ran a marathon, which is also crazy with a prosthetic. That's very impressive. Then he cleared the course, and he cleared block run insanely. This block run's a very tough obstacle that tips you to the side. I don't know how you could do it with a prosthetic, but he did it. So I'm very impressed. I'm sorry, he didn't clear the course. I said he cleared the course. He cleared block run. He failed the battery rim. He didn't miss the shade, but he lost his grip on the cylinder. So that was unfortunate. But he had a very good run. He's very happy. And as he should be, that was a great run. So I'm glad that went well. Then we have some cuts. We have Rick Hinant. Oh, this is the guy from Shark Tank. They showed Barbara Corcoran from that show on the screen, which was a very weird crossover for me because I like Shark Tank. Not as much as American Ninja Warrior, but I do like Shark Tank. I mean, I don't have a YouTube channel dedicated to Shark Tank like I do this show, but I do like that show, so it's funny to see her on here. And he failed the log grip, but that was a cool crossover for me. Then they had Isaiah Wakeham, who backflipped on the battering ram, but I think he moved on. Then they had Grant Cunningham, who made these props out of ice, like these rings. So, like, he basically trains with ice, which I feel like would really hurt your hands, but that's cool. And he cleared the course, so that's good. Then they showed Daniel Gill, kind of early for Daniel Gill, I feel like, but they showed that he had a baby. He and his wife had a baby, which is really cool, and they said how he's very excited about that and wants to do well so she can watch him do well. So that's a really cool story. I like that. And he cleared with 51.9 seconds, so a very fast time. He was going crazy. He had a close call on the last battering ram shape where he was like almost on the back of the cylinder. Like I'm glad he made it as far as he did because he was kind of near the back end of it. I didn't think he'd make it, but he did, and he made it to the course very quickly. He failed the mega wall, which I don't know why, but I had a feeling he would. I swear, like he's cleared it every time in the past, but I had a feeling the way they were talking, he was gonna fail it, and he did. But he was happy, and he cleared the course. He went really fast, so he had a good run. So all good. Then they cut Luke Dillon during the commercial break. He cleared and he proposed to the buzzer, which is weird, but I remember when I was in Daytona for a live taping, I remember someone proposed to the buzzer then as well, and they cut the whole thing from the show because it was like a big ceremony. It was kind of funny, in like a unintentionally amusing way. But yeah, that was weird because that's happened in the past. I wish they showed that one. I was laughing in the audience when that happened. But yeah, so I'm glad they showed a proposal 8 years later, I guess. Then they had Avery Glantz, who they showed how she made an obstacle called Ladies First, which is basically an obstacle designed to be easier for women, which is an interesting premise. Basically, it's you hang upside down by your legs and then you try to reach around, and it's easier for women because they have their center of gravity is lower because women are typically shorter. So if you're taller, it's actually a harder thing to do because you have to reach to grab the bar. So that's how it's easier for women. Typically speaking, obviously the heights vary of everyone, but yeah, that was a cool idea. I like that, and I like again that it's a story that ties into ninja and it's kind of like a cool ninja thing. So I'm glad they did that. And it was also the obstacle was also featuring some World Ninja League competition, I believe, at Obstacle Ninja Academy, my old gym. So that's cool. The only thing is the fact that Kevin Bull could do the obstacle. He's probably the exception to the rule because, as you know, Kevin Bull can hang upside down. OGs will know what I mean. That was a crazy run. But okay, so anyway, Avery Glantz, she the whole thing was that she never cleared the throw obstacle before she failed it 3 times. So she finally was able to do it this time by clearing block run, which is impressive. But then she failed the battering ram on the second lache. So that was, as I said before, a very typical way to follow this episode. But she had a good run and she overcame her previous barrier, so that's good. But there's no hang upside down obstacle on this course, unfortunately, so she couldn't make it. Then they had Darian Bennett. He's a mold inspector, which is an interesting job. It shows he trains with his son. And I like during his run, everyone else was impressed, but his son was watching him like carefully, like he was not gonna celebrate till he cleared the course because he was disappointed in his dad last time for failing. That was funny. Also, they said he was 5'11", 165, which is funny to me because that's the exact same stats I have, about pretty much. So that's funny. And then he got his first buzzer, so that was good. He was very excited, so that's a good way to end his run, end his night, so that's good. Then they showed Megan Bubway during the break, who I'd known of, but I first met her at the competition, the birthday competition I did last year. It was on my birthday. It was like a World Ninja League, like secondary competition, and she made the course, and she was very supportive of me there, so I was rooting for her here. Unfortunately, my support didn't work because she failed the 3rd obstacle block run. But yeah, she's a very, very nice, very supportive. I appreciate that when at my competition. And yeah, I was sad to see her go out there, but her dad also went out there. They showed him as well while he were away. They both failed this like near the end of block run, so they did it very similarly. And speaking of similarly, another person that failed the end of block run was Flip, who, another shout out by the way. Flip is a great coach. He doesn't like personally coach me, but he makes the competitions at Jump Source Ninja as well, like the World Ninja League, like the Tier 1 competitions. And he makes some crazy courses. I always look forward to them because they're very challenging. He's always very supportive. to everyone. Like during my run, I had some fails at the start, and he was very encouraging despite that. And yeah, I always root for Flip because I've been watching him since the start, and he's a great ninja. And then I met him in person, and that makes me root for him even more. So that's cool. Unfortunately, again, my rooting might not be a good thing because he failed the block run just like the others. So that's unfortunate, and that's a very surprising early exit for Flip. I thought I'd make it farther, but it happens to the best of us, or not the best of us, the best of them. So unfortunately, he's out. But yeah, Flip and Megan are very cool. So they get a shout out at the very least if they didn't clear it. So that's definitely worth it. Then they have Ryan Cooper, who was 16, but he looks younger. He actually does look younger, and they showed how a cop, like, they did like a parody of a cop pulling him over because he looks too young to be driving, which is funny. And unfortunately, he failed a log grip. I was kind of surprised by that. I thought they were hyping him up to do better, but again, the log grip doesn't count in my opinion because it's done the wrong way, so I don't even care. So anyone who failed the log grip is excused in my mind because the obstacle is built the wrong way, to me. But you can take it if you want. Then we have the second wipeout. The second best wipeout of their countdown was Nathaniel Schneed on the cannonball drop, which I remember because I remember watching it the first time being like, whoa, that could have been bad. Because he basically fell outside the pool. He fell into the scaffolding, then he like knocked over a lighting fixture, and then he fell onto the ground itself. Luckily there was a mat there because he fell on his back. That would have been bad if there was no mat because it was just like pavement. But it was a very hard fall, very funny, and luckily it worked out. But I remember that one just because I was like, whoa, that was a rough one. So yeah, that was definitely deserving a second spot. Then they show Elijah the Boss Ninja. And they talked about how he helped his mom recover from cancer, which is nice. Again, another story that I like because it's a positive one and it's also tying in ninja, so I'm really happy to see that. And he landed on the edge of the platform after the spin cycle. I was kind of worried because he was like right on the edge, and again the thing throws off your momentum. So I'm glad he was able to make it through that and not fall there. And then he cleared the course in 50.25 seconds, which is the best time of the night actually. And he tried the mega wall, and he was not very close in the mega wall, but no one was this episode, so no harm there. I actually think they might have somehow, it might be harder, or maybe it was slippery or something, because no one was close on the mega wall whatsoever. Or maybe Wells Fargo just doesn't want to pay, because they're the sponsor now. I don't know, but no one came close today. So don't feel bad, Elijah. And great run. 50.25 seconds is crazy. And then they showed Jenny McCall, who's Jesse Graff's mom. She's 72 now. She broke the record last year for the oldest person to clear an obstacle at 71. She cleared the pole vault. And this year she broke that again by clearing the quad steps, which is probably an easier obstacle than pole vault, but still very impressive. And then she failed on the log grip. She belly flopped into the water, which is kind of funny. But she did a great run. That was very impressive for a 72-year-old. That's awesome. And then they had the first place wipeout was Mike Bernardo on the rumbling dice. He faceplanted on the platform. I remember this from watching this is kind of the peak of my like excitement for Ninja Warrior with season 5, because it was when I was starting to get more like a little bit more advanced. So I watched them all live. I loved it at that point. I remember seeing this live when he faceplanted the platform. It looked very painful, but very funny, and he's okay obviously, so I can laugh at it. But he did. That was a very painful fall, and I'm glad they went back to that. I was kind of worried when they did this most painful fall thing, or not most painful, but the most crazy fall that they'd only take from the last season or two, or cherry pick from one season. But they really spread out well, so I'm impressed by that. And they chose some good ones, and that one was very painful and very funny, so I'm glad they put that in. And then the final round of the night was Jesse Graff, who is 40 now. And they showed on the spin cycle, they showed her doing it 10 years ago in Los Angeles when the obstacle debuted. And first of all, the fact that it's 10 years ago scared me, because like, what the heck, that feels like it's new to me. But then it's been 10 years, which is crazy. I was 12 when that first aired, which is insane. But then when they showed that, I also realized the fact that I think they made the discs farther apart, because she was reaching across them in season 7, but now they all shade across them. I don't think anyone like reached for it really. Maybe a little bit, but they were all basically shading for it. So either they made them farther apart, or they just made them shade this time by rule. But I think they're farther apart than they were originally, so that's an interesting comparison to see, even if they didn't really mention it. And yeah, so she cleared that, and she almost went off the side of the platform, but she was able to make it. They showed like from an above angle that she almost went off the side, but she was able to make it through. Then they showed on the battery ram that she was locking her hands like over each other. Instead of like having them next to each other, she had them over each other, which they said saved grip, which I believe because it's more grippy than that cylinder. So that was an interesting strategy, and it paid off because she made it through the battering ram, the only woman to make it through the battering ram, and then up the worst wall, which was very easy for her, and she cleared the course. So that's a very good start for her. And yeah, a very good way to end the first episode of the season. They had 12 clears, and then the rest of the top 20, this year it's the top 20 instead of the top 30. The remaining 8 people all failed the battering ram and moved on. So overall, I'm very happy with this episode. I liked it a lot. It was interesting to see all the old obstacles come back and see how some newer ninjas fared on them, as well as to see some older ninjas also do the older obstacles, albeit the newer versions of older obstacles and the stupid log group that was built the wrong way. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was something different. I think the show needed a shakeup, and a shakeup in the direction of being simpler instead of being like, here's a new racing format, which, okay, we're gonna get to the racing in the future, so don't get too comfortable. But for now, we can just rest in the fact that the qualifiers are kind of simpler again, and I like it. And it's just, the twist is that simpler, which I've always say is kind of, well, almost always I say is a way to go for American Ninja Warrior. So yeah, I'm very glad to see that. It was funny to see some of the older clips, like of the daytime courses and stuff. It's very interesting to compare the two, like where we are now to where it was in season 4, season 3, all that. Yeah, this episode was very interesting just for those reasons, and seeing all the old clips and the people talking about the old courses. I like that. So yeah, I'm very happy with what they did this season. Instead of just doing the millionth thing with a bunch of gimmicks and crazy stuff, they kind of went back to their roots and something basic. So that's the way I would like them to start, and I hope they keep going. I mean, they probably will, because I doubt they're going to change it randomly mid-season. But I'm glad to see it start that way, and I hope it keeps going. And this review is unfortunately too long, but at least it's not as long as my older ones. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next week for another review. Hopefully a bit more concise, but don't count on it. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching. I look forward to the next episode, and peace out.